Hello everyone and welcome to YoHoJo's second scripting tutorial. And in this tutorial I'll be teaching you guys exactly what most of you have came here for and wanted to learn, which would be actually making a script for Runescape itself. I assume that you've already have some very basic background in scripting, as in you watched my very first scripting tutorial, looked through some tutorials, maybe looked through some code yourself, or have even started making a script of your own and would just like to learn some more things. A couple things before I start. One is I have an annoying little cough. I was sick a few weeks ago and I'm all better now, obviously, but the cough has kind of stuck with me. I think it's fake and I just can't stop doing it. I think just whenever I think about it, it happens. I'm not sick at all. It's just never gone away and it's really annoying, so just bear with it, try to ignore it, I'm sorry about it, but I have cough drops and hot chocolate, so hopefully that'll keep them at bay for a while. And secondly, the script we're going to make is going to be pretty basic, using a lot of functions and procedures that are actually built into SRL. And in my later tutorials, we'll either be modifying the script we made here, or just making one from scratch in which you can make a lot of your own custom procedures and functions. But for this one, we're going to rely on SRL and pre-made things as much as we can, just in order to get a script that works and runs well. And yes, you will be able to actually use this script on RuneScape yourself, if made properly. So first things first, you're going to open up a new Simba, and you can name it anything you want at the top, and we're going to be making a power chopper, so I called it power chopper. And save some lines. And the first thing you want to do is include everything. So basically, things I'm going to be copy pasting in the beginning, you can grab from any script or just copy from me. And all this really does, these are just things that are the same in every script, so there are things you can copy paste from all your older scripts or type from me, and then you'll be seeing yourself using them in all your scripts. The first thing you want to do is have smart defined in case people want to use that, include SRL stats, and we won't be needing this one. So the top of your script should look like that. Next thing is constants. And constants are kind of like variables, except constants, since they're constant, don't change, and they're defined at the top of the script. And my minor kind of has a lot of options, and we won't be using as many options as there are in my minor, so I'm going to take some constants from this script instead. There we go. What we have here is a stats username and stats password in case people want to use stats. Break every and break for, which are for my break handling. Every 120 minutes it'll break for 5 minutes. And version number, which I also like to include in all my scripts. And that's, I assume, all we will need for constants. And next, every script must have declare players. And what this does exactly what it says. It declares the players, it tells the script the username, passwords, and settings for each player. And ever since that, what people have been calling 6-hour update, meaning you can only have a RuneScape client open for 6 hours before it says RuneScape has updated, and then you have to close it down and open it again. So since each player can only bot for about 6 hours, I no longer really use multiplayer. I just leave all my scripts as single player. So as you can see here, there's just one player. But if you wanted to use more, all you'd have to do is copy paste this as many times as you wanted, and for each one just increase this number. And also you're going to want to have something called number of players and start player. And start player 0 means they'll start with this first character up here. And number of players, you want that to always equal how many you have here. So right now I have 2, that would be 2. But like I said, we're just going to make this a single player script. So 1 player, start player is 0. And all this does is log in for you solve randoms, look for randoms kind of thing based on your username. Actually no, randoms no longer say your username, scratch that. And any other settings you want for the player. As in, for my power miner, I had a setting for a number corresponding to which rock you want to mine, and another integer for how many seconds to wait before clicking another rock. And in here you can always also define what rewards you want from the reward box. You can put anything you want. I just put a bunch of them, so I'll just grab anything random because I don't really care what I get from reward boxes. Another couple procedures that I like to take are this one called Stats Guys. I'll explain that later. And another one I've been using in my more recent scripts called Check and Click. I'm gonna pause for 1 second here. Okay, I actually changed the check and click a little bit. You can see this, type it up yourself, copy paste. Actually I wouldn't want you to even copy paste it. It's pretty helpful to actually practice yourself. Even if you're just copying someone else's code to get the hang of how to type properly, have proper standards, even though mine are a little messy. And I think for now that's all we'll keep. Now we'll get to the main function, which will be to chop the trees, so we'll call this function chop down. And like I said earlier, we're going to be using a lot of procedures and functions from SRL. And SRL's main built-in object finding function is actually just called find object. There's a lot of different types of them, but we'll find which one's best for us. So since I included SRL up here, I'm able to search in here for any function either within my script or within SRL. So I'm going to type find object and double click this one. So you could read right here, function find object, description finds an object. You have your CXCY, which as you saw in my DTMs would be the result of where the object was found. Text, meaning the up text of the object. Up text is the text that appears at the very top left of the screen when you hover over an object. For us it would be chop, and the color, and tolerance you want on that color of the actual object. And as you can see, there's a lot of different other find objects. Like this one allows you to enter multiple up texts. As you can see, they're looking for attack, and just having multiple ones kind of helps with the accuracy. And also here, as you can see, there's multiple colors, so we might actually end up using this one. It's nice to have multiple colors. So we're going to use find object custom. So I'm going to copy paste this into our script. Begin. And I'm going to copy this little example for myself to look at later. So we got X, Y. Remember, you can name this X and Y anything you want. Save some room for some up text we're going to have. Save room for colors. Just making up some fake numbers to hold my place. And tolerance, making that up too. Just 1 second. Phone call. Okay, I'm back. And while I was gone, I figured out two more things I'd like to copy paste, which are an anti-ban procedure. And all this does is randomly do some of these random anti-ban things. You can make up your own yourself, but I'll describe what mine are. This one goes to the stats tab and hovers the skill magic. We'll change this to woodcutting. Woodcut. And then goes back to your inventory once it's done. Sleep and move mouse moves your mouse around randomly. This is for 7 seconds plus a randomness of 550 more milliseconds. So this would just like, you know, wiggle your mouse around like that randomly. This one goes to your inventory, examines a random item, and goes back to your inventory. This changes your compass to a random angle. This goes to your stats tab and just waits, so it's like kind of someone looking at their stats really quick for 3 seconds, then goes back to your inventory. And this one goes to your stats and hovers a random skill. You can feel free to add any more or tweak any of these or whatever you want. All you'd have to do is new line. Let's call it 6, have it begin, do whatever you want. You know, as an example, wait for 1 second just because randomly, and end. So feel free to add or remove as many as you want from here. It's very easy to do. And another one I have is I call failsafe, and what this does is I call this if anything fails at all in the script. I put a little reason why, so I know exactly where the script messed up, and I change the player location to that reason, so when the script ends it'll print out in the progress report the reason the player failed. They'll log out, commit any stats it needs to, print the progress report, so this will get seen and kills the script. I call this a lot, and it helps me a lot to put exactly the reason why. So the first thing I'm going to do is find this object, so let's actually open up Runescape and get to it. So what I'm going to be doing here, as you can see I said X and Y, so I need to define those variables. There we go. And like I said, you can name X and Y anything you want. You can call it sexy, we'll do that. We'll call them sexy. Just to let you know, you can really call them anything you wish. And let me think. Okay. Let me get my woodcutting axe. And we'll head over to southwest Varrock. Actually, this is a good spot right here. Bunch of normal trees to cut. Yeah, this is a spot with a lot of trees. So first things first, we want the up text. So when I hover over a tree, as you can see in the very top left, it says chop down tree. So that's the up text. So let me fill this in. We can look for chop down. Yeah, and you don't even have to use whole words, and you can enter as many as you want. You can look for the ending P in chop and the first D in down. That should be good enough. And colors. As you should learn before, color picking is easy. You don't even have to drag your crosshair for the color picking part. Dragging the crosshair is more for getting the right coordinates, but it's a good practice. So drag the crosshair, and as you can see, even though all these trees are normal trees, they don't seem to have one constant color of the leaves. Like look at this one down here. It's more of an autumn tree. It's starting to become fall for this guy, but this guy's still in spring. So as you can see, these colors aren't even close to each other, so even adding tolerance wouldn't help. One thing I could do is just have two different find object functions, like we did in the I believe in the catch the goldfish script I entered multiple colors and multiple tolerances. But what I'd like to do here is, as you can see, all the tree stumps are pretty much the same color. And another thing is the tree stump is kind of what you want to click in the first place. So I'll use this lower, darker brownish color, because anytime I hover those, the up text comes up. While, as you can see up in this area, there's some of the brown stump color, but the up text doesn't appear, because the object is more located around the base. So what I will do is pick some of these darker colors here. I'll get a few of them because the function allows us to use as many as we want. I'll assume like 4 should be good enough. Might even be too much. So here's my 4 colors, and I will enter them here. Just copy and paste them. And tolerance changes a lot. Colors on the main screen change a lot, so having a higher tolerance is always good. I am just going to guess right now with 30, just because I feel like it. So I'm just going to check exactly what find object does, if it clicks it or not. So all find objects does is move the mouse, I believe, and not actually click it. So if we find this object, then we want to do a series of things. If you just wanted to do one thing, like write something, in fact we'll test this. It's a good thing to always test your stuff, and write LMs, write, which means write line, is a great way to test things. So if we find this object, then we'll write hooray, we found a tree. And so down here, the very last begin and end in your script is everything you have up here is just code. It's not actually executed unless it's in between this begin and end right here. First thing you always want to do is set up SRL. You also want to declare the players that you made. And that is it. And now I'm going to put a repeat here because these are things you'll only do once, but after that we want the script to continually chop and then drop and chop and drop over and over, so it's going to repeat it. Chop down until false, and until false just means repeat whatever's in between the repeat and then until forever. And this is just like an example for now. Later on we'll be tweaking that to take breaks and log out after certain times. So let's see if this even compiles. We put in a lot of code without even checking. As you can see in my failsafe, we haven't even made a progress report yet, so we'll get rid of that. And another thing I forgot to say is that functions, unlike procedures is just a list of commands that are executed. Functions pretty much the same, but a function always returns something like a value. In this case, we'll make it a boolean. So we'll make that so if this actually finds the tree, clicks it, and chops it, then we'll say chop down is true. It happened. And if none of this happens, if it can't find the tree for some reason, we'll make the result false, and then the script will do something else. Boolean. There we go. You can see that successfully compiled, and right now we're not going to have this repeat. I just want to check once if the script actually works. So drag your crosshair to Runescape, click play. I also want to get rid of this line, which opens up Smart since I'm actually using the in-game, the actual client. So there we go. As you can see, okay, so that worked eventually, but as you can see, the mouse was moving around moving around in some weird locations and stuff for a while, which never looks good. So what I'm going to assume is the tolerance was maybe a bit too high. Change it to 15 or something, because it's going to look weird if your mouse moves around a lot and not directly onto target. So let's try that again. Unfortunately, some color on my player looks very similar to the tree stump because you saw the mouse move to my hair before there, which is weird because my hair is white. So try even lower the tolerance. There we go. And now note though, colors always change. I bet if I switch worlds, log in or log out, things like that, the color will change drastically and I'll need a higher tolerance than this. And to adjust for that, I could make sure these colors are only very dark ones, or colors that aren't existent anywhere else on the screen. But for now, this works. And as you can see down here in the box, it found it, and it said, hooray, we found a tree. So it moved the tree, we checked the up text, and it knew that it found it properly. So I often like when the script either talks to me, like says what it's doing, or even down here where it says Simba, it tells me what's going on, or even in one of these boxes. And that's where stats guys comes in. Status means it'll report what's going on, I believe, in one of these boxes down here. And what disguise does is change the name of the tab to whatever I tell it to. It's just a little thing I like to have in my scripts. So as I said earlier, after if-then functions, if you just want to do one line, one thing, you can just type that one thing down here. But if you want to do multiple things, you need to have a begin. After each begin, you need a couple spaces. So instead of write ln, we're going to use stats guys, and we'll see what that looks like. So as you can see down here, the tab said, hooray, we found a tree. And here's the box where it says it there too. I often like doing this because I want to let people keep their smart minimized, because if you minimize, unminimize a lot, it can mess the scripts up. So instead, just bringing up Simba, looking here real quick, looking down there, you can know exactly what's going on with the script without having to disrupt smart and actually look at Runescape. So as you can see, all this does right now is find it and say hooray. What we want to do is actually click the thing. So we know that wherever it finds it, it returns the coordinates as sexy. So we're going to say get mouse pause sexy. I'm not sure if this line's 100% necessary, but all it does is it figures out where your mouse is at the current time and names those coordinates whatever you call it, like sexy. I'm pretty sure find object does that by itself, but it's always nice to throw some of these in just because it doesn't hurt. And then one thing I like to do is some people just regular click like this. Some people like to right click. Sorry about that. Some people like to just regularly click on the trees. Some people like to right click and choose the option to chop down. Some people do both. And the best thing to ever have in your bots is randomness. You don't want to do exactly the same thing over and over again. So we're going to incorporate that into our script. We're going to have a random case. How you do that is you type case random one of, and there's two cases. The first case is just regular clicking. Second case would be right clicking, but cases always start, as you can see here, at 0. So case random 1 would actually mean two different cases. So let's describe the first one. 0, we would just, and same thing applies here. Since it's just one line, I don't need begins or ends or anything like that. So this generates a random number. If the number is 0, we'll just have it mouse x y sexy 5 true. What this means is this is the most used function obviously ever. What mouse does is it moves the mouse to a location and also clicks it. The location being the coordinates or variables you enter here, and this 5 is the randomness. So if I told this to move to, let's say, 10 10, I would move to 10 10, but not always 10 10. It would add or subtract a randomness of 5 units in the x-axis and 5 units in the y-axis. And true means a left click. If I made this false, it would be a right click. So randomly it'd either do that or 1. This next option is going to be a few lines long, so I'll need a begin pretty sure this is not the right standards for doing this at all, but it looks kind of nice to me, good enough. So the other thing you would do is, once again, you'd mouse to the location where the tree was found. And you guys can make this randomness whatever you want, but 5/5 is pretty decent, it's good enough. You'd left click it, so that would be a false. And after you left click, you see this option menu comes up. It says choose option, that's exactly what it's called in SRL. Choose option, chop, or chop. It's nice to just have them as short as possible because then I'll work a little bit faster. Probably not very noticeably. I want CHOP though, because as you can see in choose, there's also a CHOO. So CH chop. And you want to, what a lot of people do is put a little wait in between here. This would rate 100 plus another random 0 to 100 milliseconds. And so that would like right click, wait for a second for this to come up, and then choose the option. A lot of people don't know that let's say the menu pops up a little bit faster than 100 milliseconds, then you've wasted a few milliseconds. And while that not seem like much, in certain scripts, or in almost all scripts, speed is very important and something I always look for. Maybe not so much in a power chopper, but maybe if you're competing for trees, or mining and competing for rocks, or in my gate stoner where you want to cast as fast as possible. You don't want to have an arbitrary rate like this in case in case whatever you want happens faster. So there's actually a function called wait option. What I'm doing here is pressing typing some of a function and then pressing Control space, which brings up all of the other functions that start with the words I started, and pressing enter. So wait option, Control space, pressing enter, opening the parentheses, and I can see the parameters right here. So my option would be to chop, and time, I'll make it half a second. So what this would do is wait until either the uptext chop comes, the option to chop comes up, or 500 milliseconds has elapsed. So that way it'll be basically as fast as your computer or connection lets you. So wait for that. You get it. Whatever. And so either just move to the tree and click it if this happens, or move to the tree, right click it, and choose the chop option if the number 1 is randomly generated. And cases, even though this isn't a begin, cases always need an end. So end for that. Now let's check if this compiles. Just making some spaces to keep it looking nice. Alright, so that all compiles properly. I'm gonna move out of here because someone else is chopping all these trees down. I'll go head over this way. So let's see if this works now. Tracker crosshairs, click play. Yeah, we're gonna need to definitely change our colors because the way the mouse is moving. I'm going to repick these colors because that looks very bad. Let's only pick very, very dark colors. Nothing that could be confused with those leaves or anything. And I'll just stick with 2 colors for now. And some other dark color. That should stop the confusion of it looking at the leaves and things like that, hopefully. Not exactly. But as you can see right there, it did eventually find it, move to it, and this case right here happened to generate the random number 0, so it didn't right click, it just regular clicked. One thing that could help solve this is making the camera angle very low. That way we can't see as many of those leaves up there. So what I'm going to do right here is say set angle false. What set angle does is, if you said true, it would set it to the highest angle, meaning up here. And if you set it to false, it would give you the lowest angle, meaning down here. And as you can see down here, we can see a lot of the darker colors we want to click, and not as much of the leaves. So this might actually work better. And we'll even let the script set the angle by itself so you can see it in action. Give it another whirl. There you go. Much better, a lot smoother too, because there's no other colors that are confusing the script of something else. So I'm going to run this a few times. We'll see if the choose option ever comes up. Not yet. Still no. It's supposed to be a 50-50 chance, but it's not happening yet. Oh well. Just know that sometimes this will generate the number 1, and this will actually happen. So now actually once we're chopping, since right now we're just doing normal trees, we know we're done chopping once we get another log in our inventory. So instead of having some arbitrary wait after this, we are going to have it only wait until that we have another log in our inventory. So give me just 1 second to look up how to do this. Well, I know how to do it, but how to do it more efficiently. Just look at a really quick example from another script. Okay, figured it out. We are going to make an integer called +1. You can name this anything you want. And so what we're going to do is, before it chops the tree, we're going to make it give value to the integer +1, and which is going to be your inventory count. And this is built into SRL, inv count. And every time you call or use this, it just returns an integer of how many items are in your inventory. So I'm telling the script that have a variable called +1 and make it equal whatever your inventory is +1 more. And that's called before. That is called before we actually chop the logs. So here we go. Finds the object. Says hooray, we found it. Either right clicks or regular clicks it. And then what we want is a wait. So we're going to have a repeat. And so this is basically in between the actual clicking and waiting for the logs, things we can do. So I'll throw the anti-ban in right there. We'll do anti-ban, small wait, until our inventory count equals +1. So that means after we click the tree, it will continually wait 100 seconds, try doing an anti-ban if it happens to equal one of these numbers out of the 250 randomly generated ones, and it'll keep doing anti-ban and just hanging on until we have one more log in our inventory. And another thing you might be wondering is, what if someone beats you to the tree, or what if you don't get the logs for some reason? Someone chopped it down before you. This would repeat then forever, because your inventory count would never be one more. So for that, we'd want to fail safe. We'd call this a tree counter. And what we do here is use mark time tree counter. What this does is, I believe I explained this in my earlier tutorials, acts as a stopwatch. This would start the stopwatch, and so we could repeat anti-ban and waiting until you have one more log, or time from mark means how long has it been since I called this tree counter stopwatch to start. Time from mark is greater than, should take no longer than, let's say, 7 seconds to chop the tree, and that's a high guess. So this will wait until you have one more log or 7 seconds has elapsed. Let's just get this to compile properly. There we go. And we'll even check if this is working properly. We'll say if we get one more log, then it will write we got one. See if it even works properly. So there we go. Move the mouse, cut the tree, and anti-ban, as I said, didn't happen because there's a very rare chance of it happening because this is called every 100 milliseconds. So if you were to lower this number, anti-ban would happen more often, things like that. But or raise this weight, so anti-ban would happen less often. So as you can see, it chopped a tree. It identified that we did get one more log and wrote we got one. So we know that this loop works for if we get one more. And time for mark always just works. So this waits 7 seconds or until we got one more log. And then after that we'd want to move on. So now we can let this repeat. Before, if we let this repeat, it'd just keep clicking the trees over and over without waiting until we got one more log. But now that it properly waits until we get a log, we can have it repeating forever. And it should look just fine. So let's let this go. See how it works. Oh, there we go. Anti-ban just happened. It was checking the checking through some random tabs. Unfortunately, it just clicked that stump even though the chop up text wasn't up, which isn't good. So it's going to be waiting 7 seconds now before trying to click another tree. As you can see, a lot of anti-bans happening now, hovering the mouse around, things like that. And it should look for another tree soon, which it's doing right now. Found one. There it goes again. It's even chopping dead trees. I guess the color matches. The reason why there's a lot of long waits happening right now is because for some reason it's thinking it's seeing the chop up text even though it's not and clicking, which isn't too good. But we will let this complete a whole load. As you can see, each time we get another log, it's writing we got one in the debug box. And I guess as you can see this warning here, I guess woodcut isn't a valid skill. I think I need to call it woodcutting. So I'll be doing that later. I'll edit that right now, in fact. Oop, actually I can't do that. I'm letting Simba use my own mouse. I'll do that later. As you can see, there's a lot of mouse hovering around, things like that. That doesn't look too great. We'll try to, in future tutorials, I'll explain how to get rid of that and do things more properly. But like I said, Find Object is really, really basic and not too customizable. So we're kind of just going to have to deal with it. All we could do to really fix that is, like I said, pick a lot better colors, better tolerance, things like that. Unfortunately, even though after a tree is chopped down, the black stump color we picked still exists. So it'd be best to pick a color that goes away after the tree has been chopped. So I might end up trying to use the leaf colors. And I'll try doing that right now. Let's change this to woodcutting. So, you know, there's a lot of trial and error. We found out that using stump colors actually isn't as great as I thought in the beginning, because even if the tree is chopped down, the stump still exists, which is not good. But the leaves do go away, so I'm going to take some leaf colors. I'm going to try to pick some darker ones because it seems like the leaf colors match the ground a lot too, which is not good. We don't want the mouse hovering all over the ground thinking it's a tree. So I'm going to try to pick some unique colors if I can on these leaves. These darker ones seem nice. And like I said, a lot of the trees look different, so I want to run around and try to get all the different kinds. Or at least in this area. And should be okay. Let's see if this works out any better. Obviously not too great because Jagex changed it a while ago that you need to hover on the actual stump or base of the tree and not the leaves. So we're going to be stuck with using this brown color of the branches and stumps and stuff, which is a little unfortunate since, like I said, the stump still exists after you cut it, but we'll try to pick only branch colors. And one more. Oh, I already have that color. I have that one too, whatever. We'll just use two. Hopefully this works a little bit better. And since I'm clicking these upper branches now, I need to get rid of the set angle false because it's actually better to have a higher up angle than that low down one we were using earlier. So this is working a little better, but I think it's still going to be, yes, looking at the stumps and moving the mouse around a bit oddly. But hey, it works. Here's some anti-ban happening. It's hovering the wood cutting skill, which works right. And we're about to get a full inventory, so what's coming up next will be the dropping portion of the script. We'll just let this finish up though. I'm gonna drop a few of these real quick and see if there's a find object function that could maybe be a little more specific to what we wish to find. Yeah, find object is pretty limited to what we can search for. All I can think of is lowering the tolerance once again even more, so I'll only be finding the branches or darker colors that I told it to. We'll try one more time. But hey, like I said, this tutorial is just for, getting you, teaching you the basics, making your first script, etc, etc. If you're doing something like mining or something, this wouldn't be as big of a problem. Oh. Someone thinks I'm their grandma, because as you can see, I look like a grandma. Let's play along with this guy. Let's get some logs. Call them cookies from grandma. Ooh, you logs. I'll take them. Oh. Anyways, back to business. I will try one more time to find pretty good colors, but it is pretty tough. There's other techniques and things you can use to find objects better. for now we'll just deal with find object. Now if you're dealing with fishing spots or mining rocks or things like that, it would be a lot easier because you know, anywhere you click on a rock or anywhere you click on a fishing spot is pretty much valid, but this tree has so much excess stuff, like all these leaves I can hover over. Up text never really comes up. Even on the edges of these branches, no up text comes up. So you kind of need to focus on this stump and this brownish color, which, as I said, the tree stump remains, the brownish color remains, so that doesn't really help because even dead trees even chopped down trees will seem like up trees, and the actual stump color matches the branch colors, which is pretty lame. But feel free to experiment with different colors and tolerances, see if you can get it, but this will definitely work for a mining script or a fishing script. You feel free to use your own colors and tolerances and see if you can get this working with find object, but these new trees are crazy. And I am going to stop this video right now and call this part 1. And in part 2 we will be making our dropping procedure and finishing up on getting the script to run properly, actually loop properly, take breaks, things like that. So I will see you guys in part 2.